With the wheel still on the ground, use a 6mm Allen key and loosen off the single pinch bolt on this fork leg. You're also going to need a 19mm hex to undo the wheel spindle. Either this type, which has multiple sizes on there, or you can buy this type, often on eBay, fairly cheaply. So it's 19mm. So with the wheel still on the ground, after you've loosened the pinch bolt, loosen the wheel spindle. But do not remove. Now I'm going to undo the caliper bolts on both sides and withdraw the caliper from the disc. So using a 12mm socket, undo both caliper bolts. And withdraw. Now while the pads are, pull it back a bit, but while the pads are still on the disc, just twist it slightly in both directions to push the pistons back into the caliper. Not a huge amount, but enough so that it moves freely. And then you can manoeuvre the caliper out of the way of the disc and the wheel. I'm going to leave that there if I can, in order to support the weight of the caliper. I don't think I need to remove it. And now I'm going to do the same to the other side. Right, so I've done the same for this caliper. I've removed the two bolts and withdrawn it, and now I need to raise the front of the bike. So this is going to be the tricky bit for most people, because I happen to have a paddock stand which is going to help me lift the front of the bike, and mine happens to line up with the forks. If you haven't got this, you're going to have to come up with some method of raising the front of the bike possibly you could use a couple of stands, like axle stands or something like that, or you might have to rig up some blocks or some bricks, or maybe have someone help you get the front of the bike up. So the front of the wheel is off the ground, or the front wheel. And once you have the front of the bike lifted, you then need to get some method of keeping the back down so the front is raised. And what I do is back a shonky old car up close to the bike, and it has a kind of tow hitch underneath, and I'm going to use a strap to hold the bike in this position to keep the back down. So I'm not using this to actually raise the bike, because I don't really think this is strong enough. So I've raised the bike as I showed you, but now it's raised, I'm going to use this to keep it in position. Okay, so I've done it fairly tight. I've not gone crazy because I don't want to bend this. I just want to hold the bike in this position. So now with the back of the bike being held by that strap, I'm going to take away this paddock stand, and hopefully, even with a bit of slack in the strap, this still will be held off the ground. As you can probably see, I've used a board, like a floorboard, underneath the main stand, which helps give you a bit more space at the front. That helps keep it off the ground. So do that when you first put the bike on its centre stand. Now if it's not quite right, if there's too much slack, it will be okay because we've still got the wheel in with the spindle. So I'm just going to do it gently and hopefully it will stay a couple of inches off the ground. Which it has. So now I can take the spindle out and remove the wheel, and hopefully there'll be enough space so that it won't catch on the mudguard. I'm just going to support the wheel underneath as I withdraw the spindle. So one spindle, and I'm just going to let the wheel down gently so it can take its weight, its own weight. And you've got both calipers that should be dangling. And before you take the wheel out, you need to check the wheel speed sensor has dropped out okay. There's one spacer on this side, right, that goes here. And the wheel speed sensor has fallen out when I took the spindle out and lowered the wheel gently. So you just need to make sure it doesn't get caught up when you're lowering your wheel. And now hopefully it will roll out. There should be just about enough space to get it out of here. There we are. Incidentally, you can't take the mudguard off until you've removed the wheel, because although you have these two bolts here and two on that side, there's also two bolts inside that you can't access until you've removed the wheel. So if you want to take your mudguard off, you need to take the wheel out first. When putting the wheel back in, have a bit of 2-inch wood handy, because you have to lift the wheel and put the speedo drive back into the wheel, and it can just be handy to have a block of wood, maybe a little narrow one as well, to just kind of hold it up in position while you make sure that you can put your wheel spindle back in. And remember to put your spacer on this side. And now I'm going to torque the bolts up, let it down, and then I'm done.